So this garden is eventually, well I guess it is right now, a young forest garden. And what that means is we're taking the patterns of a forest, everything from the high canopy trees to bushes and low tree layer to the herbaceous layer, right down to the root layer, and then adding in a vine layer as well. So instead of having your vegetable garden separate from your orchard, which is separate from your herb garden, we kind of mix it all in one, and there's a lot of beneficial relationships that happen because of that mixture. Over here we have more floating row cover. Underneath there we have some radish, spinach, and turnips. And to the right we have some self-seeding vegetables going on. That's Swiss chard mixed with clovers to fix nitrogen into the soil, and some curly dock is in there, and a few other wild plants. Right here we have a small gooseberry bush. This was put in the spring, and this will eventually grow to about 4 or 5 feet tall and 3 to 5 feet wide, depending on how I prune it. And it gives a really nice berry that's similar to grapes, I would say, a little bit smaller. Around it we have shallots growing, multiplier onions, and I'll pull a few up right now so you can see. They're a bit tiny, but they can grow quite large. This is just the first year that we had them in here. And so one onion will produce several, and then I can take these onions and plant them around the border of my gooseberries to act as an aromatic pest confuser. So they give off an aroma that a lot of insects either don't like, or they just, the smell will mask the smell of nearby plants. And they also act as a grass suppressant barrier. Over here we have one of our young fruit trees. This is an apple tree, and the apple tree is too young right now. It's not old enough to produce fruit yet. But so what I've done to grow food in this space is I've used the apple tree as a trellis, or a structure to grow other plants up. So we have some cucumber here. We have some beans, which are still producing. And they're using the tree to get up off the ground. Underneath we have this wild plant called wood sorrel, which looks a little bit like clover but has these tiny yellow flowers. We have a wild geranium in front of that, which attracts bees and other pollinators. We have some sow thistle, which I use as a bioaccumulator mulch, so it's good at digging down deep and getting nutrients from deep in the soil and bringing it to its leaves. I take the leaves and I use them as a mulch around the tree. And yeah, so in that way we're able to produce food and fertilizer while waiting for this tree to produce some fruit in a few years. Over here we have a thick bed of these ever-bearing strawberries that you saw earlier, mixed in with some wild spinach, clover, sow thistle, and a few other plants. And there's Bowie enjoying the garden.
He's eating catnip.
Oh yeah, some catnip's in there. But we do have a crop of carrots down here, and we had a crop of radish earlier in the year. And over in the center here, we have a cherry tree, and this bore cherries in this year. It was the second year that we had it in this garden. It's a really nice semi-sweet cherry called Montmorency. It's technically a sour, but it is quite sweet, I would say. And surrounding it we have, well, this is an old burdock plant. We use the leaves from it as mulch, and we also had cucumbers growing up there. We've got, this is evening primrose, which has an edible root, edible leaves, and I believe the flowers are edible as well. It's also highly prized as a medicinal. We've got our, so that's our herbaceous layer there, is the burdock and the things like the evening primrose, and we have more curly dock here. Well, actually, they would be our root layer, I suppose, because they are generally I use them as a root crop. We have a ground cover here of that wood sorrel that's doing a really good job of suppressing grass just by shading it out. We also have, I can't even remember what this plant's called. Do you know this one? No?
No.
But it's got nice yellow flowers, which in the fall it's good to have any kind of flower that you can in your garden to help attract bees. And yeah, that's basically it for this spot. Let's move on. So here we have kind of a sickly apple tree. That other apple tree isn't doing so hot either. But what I'm going to do with these trees is in the spring I'm going, while they're still dormant, so before the leaves have come out, I'm going to use a biodynamic tree paste. What that is a mix of clay and manure and water. And I'm going to mix that up until it's a paste, and I'm going to take a new paintbrush, and I'm going to brush all of the stems, all of the bark, all of the little leaf buds with this paste, and that will hopefully rejuvenate this tree into not having this leaf spot ailment that it has right now. It will also protect the buds from being eaten, because who wants to eat crap? And it will also hopefully be a physical barrier against invasion of disease and fungus and bacteria and that kind of thing. Underneath we have some red clover to fix nitrogen. We've got some wild carrot to attract beneficial insects and also add structure to a vertical structure to the garden. We've got some of the ever-bearing strawberries to give fruit and to act as a ground cover. There's some potatoes here that are our root zone crop, and they're growing on the edge of this garden, so that when I pull the potatoes up, I'm not going to harm the roots of this fruit tree. The potatoes are actually also growing more above the soil. What we do is, when we plant our potatoes, we plant them on top of the existing undisturbed soil, and then we bury them with about a foot of hay, and continue to bury them every 6 to 8 weeks with more hay. And so the potatoes generally will grow on top of the soil rather than in the soil. So in that way I won't be disturbing my tree roots. So let's go check out this currant berry bush. This is related to that gooseberry that you saw earlier. Very similar leaf and stem structure, but this doesn't have the thorns which the gooseberry has. This produces a small red berry, but you can also get black currants and pink, and I think even white currants are available now. This tree, or this bush, is in the full shade of this pine tree to your right. And even though it's in almost full shade, we will still get a pretty decent berry crop. My understanding is that currant berries can be in up to 40% shade, so almost half of their day in shade, and they will still show no signs of loss of yield. Over here we have our vine layer. So this is a grape that I planted here, and I've got to add some fertilizer to adjust the pH because it's burned a little bit. I added too much fertility, I think, or the acidity of the pine soil might be a problem. But I can fix that with wood ash or lime to adjust the pH. And so this is going to grow up the pine tree, and I'm going to thin the pine tree a little bit once this grape gets more established, to allow more light to come in. And so this is our vine layer, which is making use of our upper tree layer.
Do you know what kind of grape that is?
Yeah, it is.